I'm going to share my screen. My name is Katie. I'll be your presenter this evening, and we're really excited to have you here. Let's see if technology will work tonight. Okay. I'm hopefully sharing my screen. No, I'm not. Okay. Can everybody see my screen? I have to ask the question.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, great. Okay, so we're really excited to have you here tonight. And hopefully some more people will trickle in, and this meeting is going to be recorded. So everybody should be in the loop. And we're also going to be providing Spanish interpretation. Susanna from Language Access Austin will be providing that service to us today. And I'll hand it over to Susanna, who will explain more about interpretation services.
Thank you, Kathy, and thank you to Austin Parks and Recreation Department for making this space a multilingual space. So there is interpretation. If you are on your computer, you will see the little globe at the bottom of your screen. If you are joining us from your cell phone or tablet, then you will see the three little dots more. There you will find language interpretation. Select your language and press done. Muchas gracias al Departamento de Parques y Recreación de la ciudad de Austin por hacer de este un evento multilingüe. Para acceder a la interpretación, si están desde sus computadores, van a ver el icono del mundo en la parte de abajo de su pantalla. Allí pueden escoger su idioma. Si nos acompañan desde sus teléfonos o sus tabletas, vayan a los tres puntitos o más. Allí encontrarán interpretación de idiomas. Seleccionan su idioma y presionan listo. Si tienen algún problema, no duden en comunicarlo por el chat y trataremos de ayudarlo. Muchas gracias. Thank you so much, Katie.
Okay, thank you so much, Susanna. Okay, let's get started. Again, my name is Katie. I'm the landscape designer with the Parks and Recreation Department in the Landscape Development Division. Okay, so this meeting is being recorded and will be posted on our project website, which we will share at the end of this meeting. Participants will be muted throughout the presentation, and feel free to share any questions that you have in the chat, and we'll be monitoring those throughout the meeting. Okay, so like I said, we're really excited to have y'all here. First off, we're going to go through our project team. Everybody that's here is really fantastic, and we're all really excited to start work on this project. It's going to be a really beautiful park. And then we will review site information, locating the site in the city, and providing more updates and information for you. And lastly, the department developed an initial concept for the park a few years ago, and we would like to provide provide feedback to us and get your thoughts on the initial concept so we can know what the community wants and better move forward. And lastly, we'll have questions at the end. And like I said, we'll be monitoring the chat throughout the meeting, and we'll get to questions, and you can feel free to email any of us with any more questions that you have after the meeting. Oh, I keep going the wrong way. Okay, so our project team. Like I said, again, my name's Katie. I'm the landscape designer. In the Park Development Office, we have Lindsay Mackamer, who is the civil engineer who will be working on this project. She is the project management supervisor. And we have Patrick Beyer, who is the landscape architect who will be supervising this project, and our project manager. And then you've met Adrienne O'Keefe. She is from our communications and engagement unit, and she's our community engagement specialist and has been helping me with any pop-ups, setting up these meetings, and handing out flyers so we can be as involved in the community as possible. And lastly, we have Susana and Azucena, who are our Spanish interpreters from Language Access Austin. And we're really thankful to have them here so we can provide these services for the public. Okay, no, okay. Okay, so this park, Tillery Park, according to City of Austin's definitions, will be designated a neighborhood park. So what this means is that it's a small to medium sized park. So it's about 2 acres. And the park will service around a 1 mile radius from the park. So instead of a district park, which services a larger area, or a metro park like Town Lake, this is more focused on the internal community that is surrounding the park. And so typically these parks don't have recreation centers, pools, or any expansive facilities. Typically, we'll get into typically what they have. Normally walking areas, play areas, and general park amenities, but nothing extreme. Okay, in order to locate the project in site, so we're here at Tillery Park. We're between Goodwin and I believe Pickle on Tillery Street. And this map is showing about a half-mile radius from the park to a 1 mile radius from the park. And so this shows the scale of the area that we will be servicing. And typically, like I said, a neighborhood park will service about 1 mile away from the park. And we've decided that this is a good opportunity for a neighborhood park, as there aren't really many neighborhood parks within the half-mile radius, which is much easier to walk from your house or a community center to the park. And as you can see, we've also labeled some of the nearby parks in order to gauge the scale of the parks in comparison to Tillery. So there's a lot of school parks, and there are quite a few neighborhood parks about a mile away, but we're really excited to have this amenity here and have this good amount of shade and really provide this beautiful space to your neighborhood. Oh, and okay, the next question, Adrienne is going to put in our poll, and you can tell us how close you live to the park. Okay. Okay, great. Looks like most people live in about, oh, a 1/4 mile away. Okay, let's see. Okay, so typically in a neighborhood park, like I said, we like to incorporate walking trails, seating, benches, bike racks for accessibility for bikers. And we also typically use or have a shade pavilion, shade structure, and this is often used for birthday parties and picnics, and it's really just a good place for the neighborhood to gather. And then other aspects within typical neighborhood parks, we typically include some fitness equipment, a playground, and nature play is also really important in this project. We think it could be a really valuable asset to incorporate with the pecan grove and to really highlight the beautiful shade trees and really improve and grow upon the natural beauty of this park. And of course, we're going to be taking your feedback on what you'd like to see in this park. So everything is up for grabs, pretty much. And the pavilion is about a medium-sized pavilion. So it's about 20 feet by 30 feet. So it's a good size for hosting small community events and birthday parties. Okay, now we're going to move in to a little bit more technical things for the project. These are more opportunities and constraints that we as the city are held to. So, of course, the most important thing on site is preserving the trees. The amount of shade on this site is absolutely amazing. I think it's going to be such a nice haven for the community, and we're really excited to share more of this natural space with y'all. And so the trees are going to be preserved. They're mostly pecans. There's quite a few heritage trees, and we're really going to preserve them and keep them intact because we know how much of an asset these are to the community. And then we're also hoping to provide a connection between Charles Street and Tillery. So this would allow for easier access for the community, and open up an area for both sides of the street to allow for anyone to come visit the park and walk there easily. Now, in terms of city code and development constraints, we are held to a 25-foot offset from the property line for our new trail. So what this means is from the fencing between your residential block and the affordable housing on the other side of the park, we have to keep 25 feet between your property line and the new trail. And this allows for a better separation between your private property and the park. And then, like I said, for preservation of the trees, the city has a lot of strict requirements. And so we will be refraining from doing construction work within the critical root zone, which is essentially just the area closest to the trunk of the tree underneath the tree. And this depends on the size and the maturity of the tree. Okay. Lastly, we are required to have some form of water quality on site because we know how often the creeks flood here. Even if there's not one nearby, it always seems to happen. So we're planning on having a rain garden on site, and this will allow for a more natural aesthetic water quality area. And lastly, I know parking is a big issue, but typically for neighborhood parks, we don't include parking lots, and especially with Tillery Park, due to the site access off of Tillery Street and the amount of trees on site, a parking lot is not feasible. Okay. This is our initial concept design, and this was developed by the Parks Planning Division about 3 years ago when we discovered that this property was likely going to become parkland. Before we acquired it, we were trying to start thinking about what could this look like. So more recently, the Parks Department just took ownership of the land a few weeks ago in May, I guess a month ago, in May. And so this design was built on the lines of providing our traditional neighborhood park amenities while being able to preserve the pecan orchard, because again, that is the whole focus of this project. And so the point of this meeting, we really just want to share this proposal with you so everybody can give us your feedback, and we'd really want to know what you'd like to see in the park. And so, as we discussed a few minutes ago, typical amenities, we have a pavilion shade structure element here, which is great for community gatherings and birthday parties. And then at the front of the site along Tillery is where the water quality rain gardens would be. And this is probably one of the only places that's feasible for water quality because we don't want to disturb the trees. And then throughout the park, we have picnic areas nestled within the trees, as well as benches for sitting along the loop walking trail. We also see the opportunity to provide a playscape within a clearing of trees in order to serve the children of the neighborhood. And we will further discuss the different type of play features that are possible for this park in order to get your feedback and see what you want. And then in this clearing, we have proposed fitness equipment for lower body, upper body, and this would consist of probably around 3 to 5 fitness features. And both of these, the playground and the fitness equipment, would be in mulch, a mulch setting. So we are keeping the land as natural as possible. So this, after we received the initial concept plan from the Park Planning Division, our division, the Park Development Division, took their plan and built off of it a little bit more after we visited the site and saw more of the constraints that were there in order to get a current reflection of where these amenities could be located. So as you may notice, the pavilion has moved from this area between these trees to more of the clearing area, and this allows for better preservation of the trees, and easier access from the street, as well as just the idea that we won't be disturbing any plant material. Yeah, and we are planning on keeping the playground area within the main clearing and fitness equipment in a small clearing. And lastly, we have a secondary path which encompasses the site and makes a loop. I'm so sorry. Makes a loop around the site. And this could consist of gravel, which would be an accessible surface, while the path connecting Charles and Tillery, excuse me, could consist of concrete, and this would allow easier access for strollers, bikers, and provide for a more distinct connection between the two streets. Okay. Next, we will be doing our next poll, and we really want to see what you're excited about for the new park. Okay. Okay, great. I think that's almost everybody. I know we have one more person connecting to audio. Let's see. Let's share the results. So, of course, I understand completely. We want to focus on preserving the pecan grove, which again is our main focus on this project. And we will also be having an online survey that will allow for you to provide more feedback. So in terms of play equipment, we have the opportunity to provide a shaded area for a playground or any type of play that the community thinks would be best and would better serve them. So we have the traditional playscape, which is what you typically may think of when you go to your parks and playgrounds, with slides, monkey bars, fireman's pole. And then we have what is called kinetic play, which allows children to experience the playscape how they want to, climb around, and really choose their adventure adventure. And this can be a lot of fun. This is sometimes a bit more modern, but still bounces off of a traditional playscape. Next, we have a nature-themed playscape, and this incorporates natural materials, wood, stones, as well as play features that resemble natural elements in order to really bring the playground to connect it with the environment. And lastly, nature play is something that we are commonly including in our parks throughout the city of Austin. And so this provides the opportunity for children to connect with the environment and really explore nature in new ways. And some examples of nature play can include stumps for climbing, as you can see in this picture, climbing and jumping and exploring, as well as logs for balancing and walking on. And there's really a whole range of things that we can do with nature play that really encourage children to explore. So next, we will have our next poll where you can rank your preferred activity types. Yeah, so I'll let everybody take a minute to look at this. Okay. Okay, so it looks like a lot of people are interested in nature play, which I also agree is a really good option for this site, just due to the setting.
Sorry, could I chime in with a question, or do we need to put it in the?
Yes, if you could put a question in the chat, we're monitoring the chat. And so at the end, we will go through the questions, and you're free to ask more questions at the end as well. Thank you. Okay, we're almost done too. So it's almost time for questions. So what to expect from PARD? Our next steps for the site, we are contracting with a local arborist in order to treat and remove the poison ivy on site. That is a process that we're working on right now because we know there's been a lot of feedback that the poison ivy is out of control, which is very true. There's a significant amount of ivy on the site. When I met out with one of the contractors a few weeks ago, he let me know that this is some of the largest poison ivy that he has ever seen. So we understand this will be a significant undertaking, and we will really appreciate your patience with us because we really want to be able to make this park as safe as possible and remove the poison ivy so that everybody can enjoy it. Next, once the poison ivy is removed, we will be hosting a pop-up in the park. So just a small event for the community to come and gather and see the park. And we'd like to walk the park and discuss what opportunities the community sees for the park. And so we can imagine what the space could be. And lastly, for Parks and Recreation, we are launching our online survey today. It will be at the end of this presentation, and we will also have a link on the project's website, which is also at the end of this presentation. The survey will be open for a month, and we will be taking feedback from this meeting, the survey, and any future project pop-ups in order to further develop our design so we can really include what the community wants in the park and make sure it's a space that benefits everyone. Okay.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, thank you for having this meeting. I really appreciate it, and long coming since we know I live right behind the park. And I was looking forward for this time for a long time. So, and I put it in the chat, but I wasn't able to type fast enough. My backyard overlooks the park, but there is a huge outgrow, including the poison ivy you were talking about earlier. So either like the trees are going to be maintained, and especially around our backyard.
Mhm.
It's really overgrown. It's really doesn't look good, and it will increase the space, for the playground, even generally for the park. So
Mhm.
what's in the works for that? I'm
Yes.
sorry, I came in later also, so maybe I missed it. You might have addressed it too.
Oh, it's okay. So we are working with a local contractor in order to remove the poison ivy. And so we're working with them on the exact details and timing. But we welcome your feedback on what you'd like to see. And we're able to treat what's on the site, and we can connect you with other arborists in the area that can also treat poison ivy that may be growing onto your property. And so lastly, before we get to questions, we'd really appreciate it if you would take our survey, and please tell all of your neighbors and anybody that you know that lives near the park and in the neighborhood that you know would really appreciate this great space to take the survey and come to any future events. And like I said, in the fall, after poison ivy is removed, we would like to go through the park and take a walk and lay out on the ground what our proposed design may be in order to better envision the future of the park. We'll have more details on the website, and we have a QR code for the website too, here at the bottom. And now we can finally take your questions.
Hi, Katie. I see a couple. First of all, hi, I'm Adrian. This is Adrian O'Keefe talking, the community engagement specialist. And I really appreciate y'all coming tonight. I know that all of us are so excited to get started with this project. I noticed, so first, Audrey's comment about the nature play themed playscape wasn't an option on the play feature question. So forgive us for that. As Katie mentioned earlier in the presentation, this is our first meeting and it's our first round of engagement. And so this first survey is helping us measure the community's interest in whether we include a play structure and whether we include natural play elements too. Both of those are potential and both of them can happen. And you can get both, right? So all of those things are on the table right now if the community wants to move forward with them. When we have another round of engagement, if people say, yes, we want some type of playscape, the next round of engagement, the next survey will really drill down into more of like, what type of colors do you want? What type do you want? Do you want a traditional playscape structure? Do you want a nature themed play structure? So forgive us if that wasn't clear, but we're excited to be able to provide these amenities. And so we're hopeful that the community is wanting these amenities. And so that's why we have this first round survey to sort of check that we're not making decisions for the community that goes against their wishes. So I hope that clears up your question. I'm trying to scroll through. Please, if you are interested in more information about getting coordinated poison ivy treatment, please put an email in the comments and specify, like, please email me about poison ivy, and we will be sure to follow up with everyone that mentions their poison ivy concerns. And then I think that those were the two. I have a tiny little window that I'm looking at. So if there's someone else that has a comment that I've missed, I'm scrolling through it right now. Here we go. Would pocket gardens or plot of garden for play and exploration be an option? What about bird baths, birdhouses, specifically mosquitoes eating birds? So Katie, I'll read that again. Would pocket gardens or a plot of garden for play and exploration be an option?
I definitely think especially if we do pursue nature play, we can definitely incorporate plantings in that area that would provide a more natural feel for children to interact with. Patrick, I was wondering if you could speak more towards gardens. I know we don't typically include community gardens in our neighborhood parks, but I was wondering if you could speak more to that.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. That's a great question. We do allow community gardens in neighborhood parks, and that would be an option. I just don't know if I would recommend it for this site because of the great amount of shade. I don't think it would be a great candidate for like a vegetable garden, but there are some things that would grow and do well in the shade. So it's something we could consider and talk with our community, our garden specialist with the Parks Department. There's a person, Jennifer Steverson, who kind of works on that directly, and we could put you in contact with her too. But I would say, I mean, what's so unique about this site is the LA of pecan trees and the amounts of shade that are there today. So we'd really like to kind of highlight that as like a unique feature through this park. And really, and I think the one opportunity for like a traditional vegetable garden would be towards the front where the sun looks like somebody just said that there is a lot of sunlight. That's right. Because there's a water quality requirement, that's likely where a small rain garden would go, and they can work well together. So it's something we could consider, but I think that's probably the only area for like a traditional garden.
Yeah, I asked several questions in the Q&A section, not the chat.
Oh, thank you, Jared. Forgive
Sure.
me. My computer keeps freezing, and so forgive me. I see those now. So I don't see any more in the typical chat, but I'll go through Jared's questions, and Audrey has one in here too. And and then we'll circle back to chat just to check in before we wrap up. So Jared's first question is, I'm curious about potential park hours and any enforcement of those hours. We have a lot of people who roam the streets and camp at night, for lack of better terms. And I'll turn that over to Katie to share more, but yes, we're aware of this concern.
Yes, so one of our ideas with connecting Tillery and Charles with the sidewalk is to allow more activity in the park and promote the neighborhood visiting the park. And I know typically our hours of operation for our parks are from early in the morning to about 10 p.m. And we do like to include lighting in some of our parks, but unfortunately on this site, lighting isn't the most feasible, at least in terms of solar lighting, because of all of the trees. So that is one option that we do typically use, but in this case, it may not be the most feasible. Patrick, do you have anything else to add?
Yeah. I would just say like the loop walking trail, that was one of the things that we were really trying to connect with the loop walking trail. There are a lot of studies that show that like just having the activity and presence in the park and having people do loops or just make the connection between the two dead-end streets, that activity will really decrease crime and kind of any undesirable activity. But it's unlikely we'll be able to afford with our budget electrical. We are considering lighting. It's just as far as our priorities go, it's probably lower on the list. But if we can afford it, we will. Sorry, my daughter's in the background. She's found her guitar, so she's 3.
Thanks for the answer. All my questions are just curiosities. So no expectations, just maybe it's too soon to even know some of the answers. I'm just asking questions. Thanks.
We really appreciate these questions because we know that if you're asking them, someone else is going to ask them. So it just helps us to sort of get more informed. I'm going to go through the Q&A really quickly where we have about it's 7:13, and so we have about 17 more minutes before the meeting officially ends. So I'm just going to give us time to go through these. Audrey has a question. Do you know if the Ramsey Playscape is traditional or nature themed play? So I've been to Ramsey Park, and that feels, the more updated stuff to me seems more kinetic, but again, I'm not the expert here for the playscape features. I'm not sure if Patrick or Katie want to weigh in on that one, if they're familiar with Ramsey Park.
Yeah, I would say that's the net climber I would consider kinetic, and then the platform structure is more traditional play. But I think they incorporated some like glass fiber reinforced concrete boulders, which
Yeah.
I consider
Mhm.
It just seemed
a
like a
nature
good
themed play, 'cause
organic
it's
mix of.
right. Yeah, it's a
all
mix
three.
of everything there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's potential for us to sort of mimic those things that you really like. And I would encourage you, if you do have elements that that you're excited about that you've seen at other parks, please feel free to put that in a comment on the survey. Moving on to another question or comment from Jared, curious about trash cans and trash collection, assuming that would be part of park services. Along with that, is there consideration of a dog bag station or two to keep the park clean?
Yes, so sorry, forgive me, I glossed over that. But yes, we will have trash cans and recycling on site. And I believe we can have a pet weigh station on site for trash bags and waste for pets.
Okay.
Yes.
And then Jared's next comment was about the poison ivy, which I feel like we've covered, but if there's anything else about the poison ivy, please feel free to point that out. Again, if you would like to be updated on the poison ivy treatments, to align that with treatment at your own property, please put your email in the chat with that specific direction. I'm sorry, I'm reading too fast. Let me slow down. The next comment was a rain garden was mentioned. Just curious, what exactly is a rain garden in city parlance?
Thank you for that question. I'll let Lindsay, who's our civil engineer, who will be working on this with me, provide feedback on that.
Yeah. So a rain garden is a shallow depression in the land that's planted just like a garden or planting area. And it's positioned and designed so that water from our site and from the new impervious areas, like the sidewalks and pavilion that we'll be putting in, will drain off into that low depression. So it allows us to catch the water, slow it down if it needs to before it leaves the site, and treat it for water quality. Because when we're adding new hard surfaces, it picks up some pollutants as it drains. So the rain garden will mostly look at a garden, but instead of being kind of a raised bed, it'll be a low depression in the ground that'll catch the water.
Thanks, Lindsay.
Yeah.
The next question and the final one in the Q&A is, what's the timing for completion?
Yes, thank you for that question. We are planning, or the idea for this project in the perfect world is that it would be complete in late 2025, early 2026. Due to city permitting, construction times, lead times, this is really variable, especially weather can influence this. So right now we're just at the beginning and we have an idea of a schedule, but it's really up in flux at this moment.
I think the caveat being that the community's waited about 4 years for this
Oh, yes.
conversation to happen. And
Oh,
so
yes. Yeah.
being a city branch, the hope would be that there would be some kind of expedition process that could potentially happen. It's 2026 seems like a long way away.
Yeah, it is. I understand.
And that's one of the benefits to having Lindsay Mockamer on the project as an internal PARD staff who has the ability to help us move forward with certain aspects of the project faster than we would be able to without her expertise on the project. So we're really grateful to her skill and training to be able to add to this project to help us move it along as quickly as we can.
Yeah, and I'll just add to the response and address Audrey's point there. And just two things, like Adrian said, one of the hopeful schedule benefits we get is that between myself and Katie and Patrick, we're going to do that design in-house. So it saves us from having to go out to get consultants to help us with this. So we're able to push it forward from that perspective. And there's a relatively new pathway for public projects to be permitted. So it allows us to coordinate with our permitting reviewers early before we're actually making our final permit submissions. And the idea, it's still a new program, but the idea is that it helps us catch things early that are going to be permitting comments and move it through. So we will be going through, we've already had an initial consultation to let them know it's coming and start planning for those next steps with the permitting process. So we're thinking about that and trying to make it go smoothly as well.
Can I ask, how many more consultations with the community would you be planning in that year and a half plus?
Well, this is our first round. Like I shared with you, we're sort of our main goal for this first round is to check your desire against this concept plan that's been developed, to verify the different components that are optional, such as the playscape, the pavilion, and the exercise equipment. And so that will be the first round. The second round will be moving forward with more specifics in terms of what components we're moving forward with, drilling down into more specifics, such as like Audrey's question about the type of if people want a playscape, what that playscape looks like, what are the most important features of that playscape. So that round will take another little bit of time. And on the project webpage, we have sort of an anticipated schedule. So the preliminary design and schematic design, which is where we are right now in conjunction. That's that process that Lindsay was just referring to. And then the community engagement we're doing right now, we're moving through the fall. So we anticipate that we'd be able to wrap up community engagement and get those specifics once drilled down to move forward into the permitting process and finalize plans. So then the next process would be getting the permits done. Then it would be design, development, and construction documents. And then it would be the construction. So.
And along with what Adrian said, we are also planning on keeping y'all in the loop with this project, especially since y'all were able to register for this meeting. We'll send out updates on future pop-ups and events where y'all can be involved, so you can really stay in the loop and informed on the project.
I don't see any more questions. I'm sorry, was someone saying?
I was just going to say, thank you. That's it's great to be able to hopefully get an email about something and stay in the loop. So thanks for the meeting and everything.
Thank y'all. We really appreciate your time. And again, if there's other people that weren't here tonight, please share the project webpage with them. I can put it in the chat, but it's the austintexas.gov/Tillery Park. So we have a shortened URL, and we place signs around today. So some of you who are close by might have seen those signs, and we will develop a newsletter based on the people who have, you know, messaged us through the webpage, messaged us who take the survey, come to the, you know, this pop-up meeting or this public meeting, and then any pop-ups. So we'll be developing the neighborhood, forgive me, the project webpage, like a newsletter for the project that we'll keep y'all updated on. I'm losing my words, but we will keep this project, as we shared earlier, I'm not sure if Katie said the closing date of the survey, but this survey will be open for a month. So you have plenty of time to share it with your neighbors and share it with other people that are interested in this park. So, and we're here. Katie's email's on this last page at the bottom, and we're here for your questions.
Guys, on your second to last slide, I think it was, said take the survey, and it just says link here, and there's not a link.
Yes, that is my
Whoops.
mistake. I'm really sorry about that.
I'm on the website.
Yeah.
The website
So
has a survey on that, so I'm
yeah,
just not sure if it exists.
I'm
or-
so glad. Sorry to talk over you.
No.
That we're grateful to you for pointing that out.
Are
The
you?
site, the survey, we completely
Just-
are.
Okay.
The survey, as I had mentioned earlier, my computer is freezing, and so I think it's because I'm running the Zoom on my laptop, and my laptop can only prioritize one thing right now. So my laptop is in line to be replaced, and so it's letting me know that it's dying. And one of those rays it's showing me it's dying is that it won't let me make the survey live. So as soon as this Zoom meeting is finished, I will have the survey go live, and I will have the link at the top of the project webpage, if that works. Forgive me for that, because it's been frozen on a page the entire Zoom meeting, and it's still frozen right now. I'm checking. So apologies for that. I'll have the links at the top of the project webpage right after we're done. And did I put the address of the webpage in the Zoom yet? Let me do that right now. Again, with the recording, this meeting was recorded so that this presentation will be uploaded to the webpage. The recording will be uploaded to the webpage. The recording has the Spanish channel and the English channel on it for people to listen. And the survey will be, links to the survey in English and Spanish will also be on the webpage. So unless there's any other questions, I think that concludes this meeting. And once again, thank y'all for your time and your interest in this park.